Hey, welcome back to Infogamer. Now you're probably wondering what that was all about. That was just me having a little bit of fun with Mixamo and showing it off to my brothers. And I found this cool swamp monster model on Sketchfab that I'll link to in the description below, and I thought it would be a good monster to add to my Campfire game. Now the problem with this model is that it's not in T-pose, but since I was just showing Mixamo off to my brothers, I used it anyway. Now there is one correction I need to make, and that is in a previous video I stated that in order to use Mixamo you had to have a Creative Cloud subscription, and I thought this because I've pretty much always had a Creative Cloud license. But thanks to a comment from TJ Ginger, I now realize that anyone with an Adobe account can use Mixamo for free. Now once it was finished rigging, I noticed its arms were a little janky. Now it wouldn't be that hard to fix this rig and its weights in Blender, but I thought to myself, whoever said that swamp monsters have to have perfect arms? I kinda like the sloppiness of its arms. Now when I was showing off to my brothers, I thought it'd be funny to make this swamp monster do a little dance. And so I looked to see if the animation library had the Michael Jackson Thriller dance. And in fact it does. And it was when I was playing this animation that we noticed this beginning section that we thought looked pretty cool and kind of creepy. So now if I download this animation and bring the model into Blender, first thing that I'll do is I'll scale up this model so that it's proportional to my werewolf and zombie. Now I noticed that the material was a bit shiny, but swamp monsters are supposed to be pretty slimy and wet, so I think I'll leave it for now. But surprisingly, this monster actually has eyes and a mouth, and I want to apply an emission map to make them glow. So I'll open up the texture of this model in Photoshop, and then I'll use the lasso tool to select the eyes and mouth. I'll color the eyes white, and the rest of it I'll color black. I'll then save this as a PNG, and I'll apply it to the emission field in Blender. Now I'll work on the animation, and there's only a section of this whole animation that I actually want to use. And so I'll find that section, I'll bring it to the beginning frame, and then I'll delete the rest of the keyframes. Next up, I'll get rid of all the forward and sideways movement. So with the root bone selected, I'll delete all the keyframes for its X and Z position. Next, I need to fix the animation so that it can loop back on itself. So I'll take all the first keyframes, and I'll paste it over the last keyframes, after which I'll delete 2 frames before this last keyframe. This will reset the transition between these frames, after which I can reinsert keyframes by clicking I on the keyboard and selecting all channels. Now all I need to do is fit this animation within 18 frames. And the reason why I'm doing this is because the walk animations for my human characters is 18 frames each. And I'm using the same animation files for the monster walks as well. And so all my walk animations have to be within 18 frames. Although I probably could keep these frames because I do spread out the animation inside Unity. So I'm going to delete between 1 and 2 frames every other frame. And then I'll condense these animations within 18 frames. Now at this point I'm going to render out a single frame to see what it looks like. Now it looks like my swamp monster is pretty dark and you can't see much of its face. So I'll adjust the light so it's shining more down on the monster. And then I'll fix the weight paints in the monster's neck so I can make it look up at the camera more. And so in weight paint mode I'll select the neck joint and I'll paint the head all the way down to the neck. Now I'll need to adjust the animation for this joint to rotate the head up more. And now I'll render out another frame. And as you can see, the swamp monster is still fairly dark, and I think it's because of the shininess of the material and there's nothing for it to reflect. And so I'll just get rid of it all. And so in the materials property, I'll delete the metallic and specular maps, and I'll set those values to 0. And now when I render a single frame, you can see all of the green of the swamp monster come through. Now the last thing that I need to do before I can render out the animations is I need to check to make sure that the monster is within the frame of the camera for all its frames and rotations. Once I've done that, I can go through the process of rendering out all the different angles for this monster's walk animation. Once I've got all the angles rendered out, I'll open them up within the same Photoshop file, and then I'll use my sprite sheet generator to spread them out. Inside Unity, I'm going to adjust the import settings, and then within the sprite editor, I'll slice the image the same I've done for my werewolf and zombie. Now with my player prefab selected, I'll add another monster object, and then I'll apply all the swamp monster sprites to its animations. Once I've done this, I can play my project, and now I can select my swamp monster on the main menu. And when my character transforms into a monster, you can see what the swamp monster looks like. And it looks pretty good, a little silly, but I think I'm on the right track. Ultimately, I think it'd be pretty cool to have remnants of the Michael Jackson Thriller dance, but I'll probably have to go back into Blender and adjust the animation. I think I need to make it more sloppily crawling on all fours, with a bit of Halo Flood mixed in. Now that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, or if you have any suggestions for my Campfire game, then make sure that you subscribe to my channel so you can be up to date with all my latest videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.